Hi Huggins family, Happy New Year. It's been a little while since we cooked and I thought it was time to cook something else with you. Something I decided to cook today is a little bit festive, a little bit fancier than some of the other things we've done. Not something I've ever cooked at camp necessarily, but something really delicious that we had here a couple weeks ago and I thought I could share it with you. So today we're gonna make some maple chili glazed scallops with manchego, bacon, and spinach polenta, which is kind of a mouthful, but it's really delicious and actually pretty easy. So the first thing we're gonna do is make the polenta, which is really, if you've never had polenta, it's basically just like a cornmeal porridge, which doesn't sound very good either, but trust me, when we get done, it's awesome and it's good with so many things. In certain parts of the country, you might call it grits. In Italy, it's more called polenta. But really, the difference is just the kind of corn that is used. So today we're using just a stone ground yellow cornmeal. It's really fine. You can see that it's really fine, and so it cooks really fast. So if you were to use a thicker, more coarse cornmeal, it would take a lot longer to cook. Still delicious, just takes a lot longer. And what we have here is just stone ground cornmeal. You want to avoid things that say quick cooking or instant, because that means they've just been really kind of highly processed. So this has a lot more of the nutrients that are originally there. So what we're going to do is we have 4 cups of chicken stock, 1 cup of cornmeal. All you want to do is get your chicken stock boiling, get it nice and hot. And when it's nice and boiling, you're gonna slowly stir your cornmeal in there. Just be careful, as it sometimes kind of wants to jump out at you. And you want to whisk pretty vigorously to make sure you don't get any clumps. So you're just gonna whisk it really, really quick. And once it's clear and not lumpy, you're gonna turn down the heat, put the cover on, and just let it cook for, it really only takes about 5 to 7 minutes with this nice fine cornmeal. So my chicken stock's boiling, got my cornmeal. I'm just gonna whisk it in there a little at a time. So no matter what kind of cornmeal you use, you always can use the same ratio. It's 4 cups of liquid to 1 cup of cornmeal, or grits, or whatever you're using. So that's nice and incorporated. I'm gonna turn my heat down, put the cover on, and we're just gonna let that cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so it's been almost exactly 5-6 minutes. We're gonna check this guy here. You can see that it's gotten nice and thick and is perfect, I think. So give it a little taste. You're looking for the cornmeal to not be gritty. You want it to be kind of creamy and not chunky. And it's creamy, it's good. The heat is off. So I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of butter. And whisk that guy in there. Just want that butter to melt. And I'm also going to add, I've got about 1.25 cups, 1.5 cups of shredded, this is manchego cheese. You could use any cheese you like. Cheddar's really good in it. So whatever kind of cheese you like. This one I really enjoy. This is how we made it the other day. So stir that cheese in there. We'll let that melt a little bit. So you can see that it's nice, it's thickened, it's cheesy. And then I have about 1.5 cups of baby spinach that I cut up really nice and thin. We're just gonna throw that in there. Stir that around. And then the polenta is ready. So we can put a cap on that and we can get ready to sear our scallops. So you can put a cover on there and set it aside and do the scallops. Okay, so our polenta is done. It's hanging out, ready to go. We're gonna do the scallops, which don't take very long at all. So I have about a half a pound of sea scallops, and what we do is we pat them dry. We don't want them to be wet at all. That way they get a nice, good sear, a nice char, get nice and crispy on the top. So we have scallops. We're going to season them with sea salt and some cracked black pepper. And we're going to get our pan good and hot. I've had this thing ready to go, so it's good and hot. You want to go medium high. So scallops take about 4 minutes to cook. Any longer than that and they get a little tough. They don't need to be cooked very long at all. So my pan is hot. I'm going to take some oil. You want to use an oil that has a high smoke point because you're cooking over a pretty high heat. You can see that it's shimmering, it's hot. And we're going to take these guys and we're just going to go one at a time. Right on there. You don't want to just toss them in there. You want to kind of set them on there. So we're going to sear these guys on one side for about 2 minutes. And then we're going to flip them over, let them cook for about 1 minute on the other side. And then we'll add a few things to the pan. What we're going to add is we have about a tablespoon of minced shallot. We have about a tablespoon of chopped Fresno chilies. And then about a quarter teaspoon of fresh thyme chopped. So once these guys are seared, we're going to add that. If you're not into peppers, the Fresno chilies are not extremely hot. They just add a little bit of nice heat to it. If you're not into that, you can certainly avoid it. So what we're looking for is something just about like that, a little bit further. You can see it's got a nice crust. Nice and golden brown. If you had bigger scallops, you might cook them a little bit longer, but I wouldn't go too much longer. And when we... Alright, so my smoke alarm went off. That's fun. But what we're going to do is turn this down. We're ready to flip these guys over. All over. A nice golden brown. We're going to add our shallots and our chilies and our fresh thyme. I'm going to toss those guys around. About 30 seconds, maybe a minute on there. We're going to add just a splash, maybe a teaspoon or so of apple cider vinegar. We're going to add about a tablespoon of maple syrup. And then as soon as that's bubbling, we're adding 1 tablespoon of cold butter. And we're just kind of take that off the heat and we're just going to swirl it around. And then the butter and the maple syrup just make a little bit of a glaze, a little bit of a saucy glaze. Just like that. Alright. ingredients together. All right, so our polenta is done, our scallops are done. We're just gonna plate it up. So I like to use a nice shallow bowl. A plate's fine. I like the bowl. So we take the polenta, put that down in there. And then we're just gonna nestle some scallops on top. Put a little bit of this glaze over there. And then something, I have some green onion strands here. I like to put in the middle. And then we have some chopped bacon that we had cooked. And that really finishes it off. So there you go. Polenta with scallops with a chili and maple glaze. Hi Huckins family, Happy New Year. It's been a little while since we did a little... All right, so the scallops are done, the polenta's done, now we're just gonna put it together. So, I like to use a nice shallow bowl. Put our grits in there, sorry, our polenta in there. Let me just do that again.